All right, you might find this story interesting in a certain way. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm 73 years old, and this stuff happened years ago, and it's technical stuff, but it's fun if you can follow it. Now, I worked in McGraw Edison in West Orange, and if you've ever gone to the Thomas Edison Museum, the building I worked in is right behind it. It's still there, and it was a modern building to put VoiceWriter in there, but VoiceWriter went bankrupt. So I went down to Florida. We packed up McGraw Edison's avionics division, and we brought it up in West Orange, and we set it all up. And the company McGraw Edison got all kinds of tax deductions. They also got other tax deductions because they hired people from the town of West Orange. So there we are. We're all set up. Everything's going fine. And then they announced we're going to sell out to Litton Industries. So Litton Industries sends in guys that are going to learn our jobs. We did the same thing in Florida. And we went in there like a-holes originally. Then we got to know everybody. We found out if you treat the people nice, they're more foregoing. I don't know if that's the correct word, but in other words, they're more willing to share knowledge with you when they like you versus if you're being a jerk. So now we're in West Orange. We're set up. Now someone's buying us out. Sound familiar? Some of you probably went through this. All right. So each one of us technicians has a guy sitting with us. And I did DC motors. I did AC motors, which would be 400 cycle. And synchro receivers and synchro transmitters. And those are 400 cycle also, 3-phase. Now, a synchro transmitter is outside on, say, a flap of the aircraft. And it looks like a little motor fit in the palm of your hand. And it fits out there. It goes into maybe a gear system. And then a rubber boot goes over to protect it from when the plane is washed down. Well, anyway, when the flap or the rudder moves, whatever, everything's got one of these on it. Whatever it moves, it transmits a 3-phase signal down to a synchro receiver. So you got the transmitter up outside, and the receiver down inside an instrument might just have a dial on the end, a needle. It might only have that. You might have a unit that has 8 receivers in it with needles, and that would be the ground flaps indicator. The pilot's sitting on the ground with the plane, and he looks at this unit, and he can see where all the flaps are set before he takes off. He also does a visual out the window to make double check. There's redundancy everywhere. Well, anyway, so I did that unit, the ground flap indicator. I did motors and all this other stuff. So I'm sitting behind this other guy, Joe Tomaso. And Tomaso had this unit. It was like a 4-inch square block of aluminum. And it was all milled out. It had large caps that screwed onto it. And now that the square is flat on all sides. But it's got a connector on it. We call them a Canon plug. So anyway, I'm walking by him one day, and he's got a bunch of gears on the table, and they're anti-backlash. Remember I showed you those? It looks like a gear that's 2 gears are pancaked together, but you can move them. You can move one direction, one the other, and you feel it getting tighter. There's a spring in between the 2 gears. They're anti-backlash. When you use correctly in an instrument, there's no backlash. If you go up and down a radio dial with anti-backlash gears, when you go to either end of the dial on any number, it's always direct. It's always exact because there's no dial cord. It's strictly gear system, and the gears themselves have an anti-backlash in them. All right, so now you got those. But this unit maybe has only 2 or 3 access holes down into the center. Down in the center goes a bunch of gears, bearings, couplers, some shims. So you're talking a 3-day job to put one of these together. And what happens is it's got 4 receivers on it on the outside, and they're synchro receivers, and they're bringing signals down from the plane, maybe from a flap, maybe from an elevator, but there's 4 signals that come down, and they move gears. These little motors, they look like motors, but they follow the one up in the plane, on the outside of the plane. So you might take 2 of these, a flap and an elevator, and you take those 2 signals and you put them to this set of gears, and then it gives you a differential. The differential signal now goes up to a little transmitter. It looks like a motor. So the whole thing, when it's put together, looks like a square block of aluminum with 6 motors like stuck into the sides. You may go look online, you might be able to find one of these on eBay. But anyway, so I'm talking to Joe, and he's like, yeah, he goes, I use these rubber bands. And he shows me these rubber bands that look like the ones the guys used to have on their braces in the back. I don't know if you know that stuff, but anyway, little tiny, maybe 3/4 of an inch diameter rubber bands. And he's washing them in Freon T up to get the powder off. Rubber bands come powdered, so they won't stick to each other. All right, so he's washing that off, and now he takes a gear, and it's an anti-backlash gear, and he shows me the teeth. He turns it, and he shows me you can't go either direction. You only go one direction, and you turn the one gear to the left and one gear to the right, 3 teeth, and then you wrap the rubber band around it, and then the gear can't snap back. And this is the trick. So he does all the gears. He puts the whole thing. He now can, instead of taking 3 days and all these procedures, he can put the whole thing together in a half hour and then goof off. So anyway, he does that. He shows me. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty smart. So anyway, now months go by, and I'm in the back of him on a different row, and I'm showing my guy from Litton Industries how to calibrate. And a lot of stuff he knows, because Litton had a lot of similar synchro transmitters and receivers. They're just different sizes. So they had all the same equipment as us. So I went through it just to go through it. And I went up to get a document. And I'm at the filing cabinet. And Joe's back showing the guy how to put this thing together. And then you go in, after it's all put together, and you've Gliptoled all the set screws. And all right, Gliptol is a sticky stuff that hardens. You might see it inside of radios over a screw, but it's crusty and hard. That's what we used. There were instances where you used Loctite, and on Loctite you put a drop on the bottom of the set screw, and then you take a Kim wipe and touch it and take all the excess off. If you don't do that, the next time you try to get that set screw out, it won't come out. That's a quick tip thrown in there. So anyway, Joe's showing the guy. He puts this thing together in like a half hour. And then he shows the guy that to get into the access ports is these caps that unscrew. And he unscrews them, and he goes in with his manicure scissors, and he cuts the rubber bands, and with the tweezers he pulls them out. And then he goes to take the unit now over to have the girl test it, and it'll be done. And the guy goes, and he says to the guy, this will save you 2 or 3 days. And the guy says, I want to see the real procedure. He's being a dick. So Joe's like, no, you don't want to do it that way. You'll take forever. And you can make a mistake. You can get this whole thing together, and one of those gears doesn't have 3 teeth backlash preset. And he goes, you got to take the whole thing all back apart. And this guy, no, I want to see the procedure. So I'm up at the filing cabinets, and I'm getting out what my guy wants. And Joe comes out, and he just looks at me, and he says, this guy don't want to use my trick. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? He pulls the filing cabinet out. He gets the file out, and then he looks at the file, and then he goes, nah, like that. And the boss hears him screaming, and he comes out, and he puts the file back in the filing cabinet, and he closes the door, and he blows past Goldstein. That's it. We never saw him ever again. Right? I just want to tell you that's some of the crap that happens to me. And Goldstein, well, what's going on? I said, well, he showed the guy how to do the job really fast and make it really good versus the 3-day system where you can make mistakes and immediately the lit industry guys go to a meeting. Every time something would go slightly wrong, they'd all get up and walk out of the room and go have a meeting in some room. But I just want to tell you about Joe Tommaso, and he was a character, but when it came to his job, he got really good at it. He would look at something, how can I do this better? How can I do this faster? All right, that's what I'm the same way. All right, and that's why I know how to do those backlash gears because he taught me, and I've used rubber bands the same way. I probably should have shown you. I showed you those gears. I'm pretty sure I actually showed you one under the camera, and how but you if you don't put the preset of 2 or 3 teeth, what happens is you go back and forth on the dial of the radio, you'll see slop. You'll just see the needle. When you turn in the dial, the needle has like an area where it just floats back and forth. It doesn't follow exactly. And you see these backlash gears, and that one of them has sprung loose, or someone took the radio apart and put it back and didn't understand how to set those gears. But I just want to, explain to you anti-backlash gears in an actual, situation. And those differential signals that came out of, whether it was the rudder or the flap, someone's going to go, no, it was used on it. Yeah, we had F-14 stuff. We had the actuators that actually pulled the little wings back in on the F-14. We had the computer for that. Other than that, a lot of the stuff you worked on, you knew how to fix it, but they really wouldn't teach it because it was proprietary. And what Joe was working on, I don't know if it needed clearance, but Litton kept saying they were going to bring him up and court-martial him or something. It was really stupid. They didn't know what the hell to say. The only guy that really knew how to do that job quit on him. I think that's it. All right, that's it.